We have one more talk. It's my pleasure to invite Ilona Smith, who's going to give a patient perspective. Ilona is a patient from London. She's a patient at UCLH. She's asked us to say, and is going to talk about her journey between survival and disaster. Thank you, Ilona.
Thank you. I don't have any slides, so you have to wake up and listen to me, I think. But yeah, thank you. It's been really, it's been a great pleasure, and I'm really honored to be here for the second time. I was here last year, and I, saw some other patients speaking, incredible stories, and I feel really privileged to be here. I'm also lucky to be here. Apparently, I'm lucky I'm still alive, because 2 years ago, my cholangiocarcinoma came back, and I asked my oncologist, okay, so how long do I have to live? And he said, if you're unlucky, you have about a year, and if you're lucky, I really don't know. So today, I choose to tell you a little bit about my luck. So I've always been a lucky person. I mean, like before the cancer, obviously. I have a dream job, amazing relationship. I can afford my rent in London. That's, what else do you need? And I think in terms of health, I counted myself lucky not to have serious illnesses. I had never been in hospital, no infections, no broken bones. My whole family, even extended family, are fairly well still with us. My last living grandparent just turned 100 in March. And there is no cancer in my family. My life before CCA was quite predictable, you might even say quite boring. Perhaps the first time I noticed this was when the pandemic hit. Right? I started worrying about my family, my parents, my grandma. I thought that, something bad would eventually happen, and nobody can go on like this, just being lucky. I started asking myself, when is this luck going to run out? Is someone from my family going to get COVID and go to hospital, or even worse, die? So I didn't really think about myself for a moment, but I always thought that I might lose someone else, someone close to me. And can you imagine, none of them got COVID. But it was me who fell ill. My symptoms of cancer, they were, manifesting a little bit before the pandemic, but they intensified during that time, that intermittent back pain, coming and going. And when I got all the more classic symptoms of cholangiocarcinoma, I turned to my GP, and she urged me to get myself to A&E that same day. So I guess I was lucky that she acted so quickly. But I guess I wasn't so lucky then that the hospital doctor dismissed my symptoms during the examination and sent me home with some painkillers and said, you just have some gallstones. So a couple of weeks later after that, I was so unwell that I had to be admitted. After a couple of tests, doctors found something in my liver. I was fortunate, or you could say, lucky, that doctors really acted fast. Within a couple of days, I got a bed at Specialist Liver Clinic at King's College, London. Unlucky for me, my cholangiocarcinoma was unresectable then, but I was quite lucky because I got chemotherapy. And that worked, and I could actually eventually have the surgery after a few months. So I thought, one of those lucky patients, one of those chosen ones with a chance to be cured. And I had that chance. I had apparently 50% chance. As my surgeon said, that's pretty good. But after a year, my fortune took turn again. And I found myself facing the treatment again. This time, there was no chance for surgery. I heard about the combination of chemo and immunotherapy, but it wasn't available in the UK. So off I went to just have the Gems's, the usual thing. And unlucky for me, it didn't really work. Didn't even really scratch the surface of it. Like, it honestly didn't work at all. And I didn't even know what was driving my cancer. Like, no tests were performed, no biomarkers test or liquid biopsy, but there was a trial available. So I, jumped on that opportunity. I thought, new drug, new hope, it's really great. And I was shattered when I found out that my cancer had grown despite 3 months of taking that drug. My oncologist discussed another trial. This time, I wouldn't have to wait. And for the previous one, I had to wait a few months without a treatment. And this time, it was an immunotherapy drug, something that I haven't tried before, so I wanted to try it. And he also finally reassured me that we would do the liquid biopsy to find out the markers. So I was trying to spark some more hope in me, hope for more luck this time. After a few weeks, my oncologist presented me with the Garden 360 test results, which we have heard about yesterday, that test. So it turns out I have 3 mutations, and one of them IDH1. And I immediately recognized it because I'd heard about ivosidenib from social media, from people in the US. They are, some of them are taking it, or were, back then taking it, or knowing someone who's taking it. But unfortunately, the conversation I had with the oncologist was one of the hardest we had. Yes, there is a drug, ivosidenib. No, it's not available in the UK. It's not available on the NHS, and it's expensive. And the pharma company doesn't really offer it on the compassionate basis right now. And he hasn't heard of any potential new trials. And on top of this, the immunotherapy didn't work. So I wasn't even surprised, because I had more symptoms, I grew more exhausted, was in more pain. And at this point, I was the least hopeful I could have been. I lost my faith in medicine, in research, in new drugs, in trials. I honestly lost completely faith in science. And I knew that for so many people, it's simply too late. And I grew more aware that I could be one of those patients. And I left the oncologist room really deflated. I then turned to AMMF forum for patients, and someone mentioned that there was a trial for a medicine targeting IDH1 gene, and I was like, no, there wasn't any. I spoke to my oncologist, right? So, they replied, they were adamant, no, there is one coming up. Ask Professor Bridgewater, contact him. His name comes up on this forum all the time. And my oncologist, I spoke to my oncologist, and he confirmed this. He asked around for me, and he referred me to UCL. And if this study wasn't available, I would practically be without any options, like just a FOLFOX. So I thought, wow, I'm lucky again. But I started worrying, because what trials are like. You have to wait for them. So professor put me on a waiting list, and I waited with no treatment. I didn't know if I was going to get onto this trial. Should I, start a fundraiser maybe as an alternative? What if I'm unlucky? Should I start a different treatment potentially? But I got a call from the clinic, and I got a place. I couldn't help but think. Maybe I got the place because someone else couldn't. Someone else was less fortunate, or couldn't, travel the distance, or maybe their bloods weren't as good. We all know how stringent those trials are. So I counted myself lucky again. The first 2 cycles were terrible, and not because there are many side effects of this treatment. There's actually no side effects. But my experience with previous trials and previous treatments made me too anxious and hopeful to actually expect anything from this. And I was at my lowest then, and and thought about death quite a lot. And I must say I now have been on IVO for 8 months. The scans showed stability. I'm well, I have no pain, my bloods are fine. I went on holidays a couple of weeks ago. I played softball game last week and planning to play again next week. So I can enjoy the time, right, given me by this drug. So my patient's perspective, and I see my diagnosis and survival as a string of lucky events, or perhaps even a roller coaster of lucky, unlucky, lucky, unlucky. There's a treatment, but can I access it? There's a treatment, is it going to work? Oh, it's not working, but there's a trial, but there's a wait. And so it's all kind of up and down again. The access to good healthcare and specialists, we know, we just discussed this, heard about this, that we know it's a sort of postcode lottery in the UK. Not all hospitals are the same. The medicines available, my treatment, the timing of clinical trials, that's all been kind of a struggle between hope and luck. And I looked at the quotes about luck, and one in particular sounded quite true to me. Hunter Thompson, who was an author, said, "Luck is a very thin wire between survival and disaster, and not many people can keep their balance on it." So yes, mutations can happen and cancer happens, but I believe that everything else is a human effort. Amazing humans who connected me to others, those who looked out for me, those who work in the lab, those who work in the administration of pharma companies, because you know these things take time. It takes a year to set up a trial. So yeah, those people, you who choose careers to help research, and campaigners who tirelessly advocate for greater awareness, doctors who continue learning, taking their time to listen to their patients and to find out about the options for them, charity workers who dedicate their work to support patients, and patients helping other patients too via word of mouth, social media. We deserve equal access to specialists and treatment regardless where we live, and it can be done. More attention can be given to cholangiocarcinoma from those in power, and we've seen AMMF and Helen organizing a great reception at Westminster. We can, talk to MPs about this and therefore create that change. That's not luck or chance. That's something that can be actively changed. There could be, more investment of time and money. And as you know, ivosidenib is now available on the NHS, and it would not have happened without this human effort. So can we have accurate and fast diagnostic for all patients and from the start? Can we have access to more targeted treatments for even more mutations? Time will tell, I believe so, and I think we all are here to, I'm here to listen to you all, and you're learning and getting inspired that, yes, the progress is happening. So thank you so much for doing this, and keep doing this, because we obviously need to accelerate that progress, because leaving these things to pure luck puts people like me on this thin wire suspended between disaster and survival, and nobody wants to walk that. And we simply haven't got the luxury of time to stay on it forever. Thank you.